Did anybody imagine a scenario back then in the 40s against the Nazis in World War II that Hitler will stay in power? And Europeans will continue to sleep with the threat. And this alliance with Japan, what would you say? Stop the war in the middle. Why did you stop the war in 45? You could have stopped it in, 42, and have half of Europe in the hands of Hitler and the others under the threat. Does that make sense? So it doesn't make sense that I will continue to live with the monster here up north.
Avi Yemini for Rebel News in northern Israel, only about 14 kilometres from Lebanon. The border of Lebanon, as we've seen over the last few days, has been escalating with militants attacking Israel, forcing Israel to strike back. We're here to speak to one of the most renowned experts in the region to explain to us what is actually going on and where we're heading.
My name is Sarit Zehavi. I'm the president and founder of Alma Research and Education Center. We are experts to Israel's security challenges on the northern borders.
And what's your personal background?
I'm a lieutenant colonel in reserves. I served for almost 15 years in the military intelligence. I was an analyst.
Okay, so what are we seeing now unfold here in the north?
What we see is Hezbollah and Iran working according to their plan to create a multi-front campaign against the state of Israel. It started with a surprise in Gaza, and here they are trying to drag Israel into war, meaning that every day we have an average of 2 incidents. Until at this moment, it's already 3 today, but an average of 2 incidents. Incidents mean terrorist attacks against the state of Israel, rocket missiles launching, UAVs, infiltration to communities, trying to kill Israelis, anti-tank missiles against IDF bases, shooting on the border, destroying the cameras on the border, which is very troubling because if they destroy the cameras, it means that they want to infiltrate and that way they blind us. So it's a very active border. It's not a catastrophe of Gaza because the IDF is now prepared. There are a lot of forces over here, by the way, also on the Syrian-Israeli border. But it's kind of a feeling that Hezbollah is doing all the time small attacks and not the major ground invasion that it planned. And it was Hezbollah's plan, this ground invasion, because it wants to get the legitimacy to tell the world that Israel opened the war. But meanwhile, we don't have normal life here. Children are not going to school. We hardly sleep. All the communities next to the border were evacuated by the army. This is almost 30,000 people that were evacuated in a distance of 2 kilometers from the border. There are many communities. It's 28 communities. And we are here like 14 kilometers from the border, and it doesn't feel regular life. It's not routine. It's a war zone.
So I guess a lot of people around the world are watching what's happened, especially since last Saturday. Are you confident with the intelligence that Israel has, that they can actually control what's going to happen here on the border? Because, of course, people are questioning Israel's intelligence after what transpired on the Gaza border.
I'll divide my answer to 2. First, after what happened in the south, I don't confident on anything, okay? Only trust myself and my husband to protect my kids. Second, I don't know what kind of intelligence was in the hand of the state of Israel before all of that happened. We will check that and we will make the investigation after the fighting. And, more than 2 parts. And third, what I want to say is that eventually at the time that we are now, it's not about intelligence. Now it's about operational preparedness. It's, to get an alert before and all of that, it's irrelevant because IDF is already here. If they will start to try to invade in something more massive, IDF is here to see that and to deal with that and to try to stop it. It doesn't mean that we won't have casualties. All of us know that Hezbollah has 10 times more rockets than Hamas, 10 times more. It means that it will take time to defeat and to eliminate this kind of military threat. And even though the army is prepared, we all know that if the North will escalate to a full-scale war, it will not be the same as what happened in the South, but it's going to be dangerous, and there is a high cost. And by the way, high cost from both sides, because eventually IDF will have to defend us, and will have to attack all these military sites of Hezbollah in Lebanon, which are the same as Hamas, based inside the civilian structure, making the Lebanese themselves as human shields. So I can say from here, I call Lebanese in South Lebanon to leave all areas where Hezbollah is based. They know where it is. I strongly suggest them, get out of there.
Are you confident, though, that Israel will be able to fight and win this if this front opens as well?
Do we have a choice?
Not having a...
Have a choice. It's either that or death. We're fighting for our lives. So we'll do whatever it takes. And I hope the United States will be with us.
Are you confident, though, that you've got it? I get that there's no choice to have it, but I feel like this is a little bit different than... I've been here, in fact, I served here in the last Lebanon war. This feels very different. I've been here in Gaza, I served mostly in Gaza. This feels very different even in the south. Are you confident that Israel's actually got this one?
Again, we don't have a choice. We'll do what it takes. That it's not a war between Israel and Hamas. And it's not even a war between Israel and Hezbollah. This is a war between the Western values and radical ideology that its mission is to distribute the values of the Islamic Revolution all over the world. We are fighting Iran here. Iran is the mastermind between what is happening. It published its plan. We knew the plan specifically. The surprise was with the time and the front, because we were looking up north. My center is based up north, while Hamas was preparing down south. But the vision of Iran is to create a multi-front campaign against the state of Israel, and that's why Hezbollah is not quiet from Lebanon and all other factions there. And that's why you see the Iranian foreign minister traveling here in the Middle East, trying to mobilize all other militias to join the war, which I don't know whether this will happen or not, but this is Iran behind it. And that's why I want to say from here, after they finish with us, you are next. Nothing stays in the Middle East. Iran is spreading radical ideology, and I don't want to compare it to ISIS, and I don't want to compare it to September 11. I want to compare it to the Nazis. This is a Nazi ideology, and it doesn't care about the cost of life, neither of the Palestinians nor of the Lebanese, and of course not of the Jews or Israelis, and they will not stop until they will get to you. They are establishing educational centers, innocent educational centers all over the globe, and the children that are now going to these centers will grow up to be terrorists in your countries. You must close these centers and make sure that these children are getting Western education.
What would you say to people that would argue we need just de-escalation? Israel needs to pull back, stop the bombing in Gaza. Yes, it is horrific what happened last weekend, but, you know, and we've seen at least, I think it's 1,500 Israelis, including women, children, and some of the horrific acts that happen there. But it doesn't justify now the hundreds of children or potentially thousands of children in Gaza facing a similar threat or facing a similar situation, and potentially here in Lebanon. What would you answer to those people?
How can you say it's a similar threat? What, our soldiers are raping the women, our soldiers are burning the bodies, our soldiers are tying parents to their children and then burning them alive? How can you compare? And moreover, our mission is not to occupy Gaza, and it's not to revenge. The IDF mission is to defend Israelis. And when the concept, the strategy of lying on containment and deterrence collapsed, it doesn't work. We can't defend ourselves this way. We understand that the only way to defend ourselves is eliminate the threat. And one last thing, did anybody imagine a scenario back then in the 40s against the Nazis in World War II that Hitler will stay in power and Europeans will continue to sleep with the threat and this alliance with Japan? What would you say? Stop the war in the middle. Why did you stop the war in 45? You could have stopped it in, I don't know, 42 and have half of Europe in the hands of Hitler and the others under the threat. Does that make sense? So it doesn't make sense that I will continue to live with the monster here up north.
If you think it's important for the world to hear the truth from a level-headed expert who only tells facts, make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share it far and wide to educate others. And then head over to the truthaboutthewar.com, check out our other reports, and share them as well. And if you support our mission, please consider chipping in at the truthaboutthewar.com to help us cover the costs. The truthaboutthewar.com. Thank you for your support.